Good evening, everyone. We'd like to call this regular meeting of the DeWitt Public Schools Board of Education to order. If you please stand and join us in the pledge of flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, our secretary is absent tonight, as is our president, so I will make a motion to appoint Lisa Trescott as acting secretary for tonight's meeting due to Brad Stoddard's absence. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Thank you, Lisa. Would you mind taking attendance, please, Madam Secretary?
Angelina Barnes.
Here.
DeWitt Spike.
Here.
Jason Hanselman. Brad Stoddard. John Tremontana.
Here.
Lisa Trescott. Here. Brad Weaver.
Thank you. Adoption of agenda. Give a motion.
So moved.
Support?
Moved and supported. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Great. We will move on to public communication for items found on the agenda. Anybody wishing to address us for agenda items? Seeing none, we will close public communication. Move on to the consent agenda. Got it here. It is recommended by Superintendent Dr. Shauna Spicker that the Board of Education approve, adopt, accept the following items for immediate implementation and appropriate action as presented. Approval of minutes, regular meeting July 10th, 2023. Treasurer's report and bills for payment on the month July 23. The treasurer reviewed and confirmed the checks, ACH debits, and the purchase card for the month of July 23. 2023-2024 athletic admission prices revised. Professional hiring, Chris Ripstra for DeWitt High School English teacher, Nicole Linneman, School and Community Wellness Coordinator, and Francis LeMay, English language teacher consultant. Do I have a motion? So moved.
Support?
Moved and supported. Any discussion? None of the hires are here, I'm assuming? Okay.
Squeeze it out.
All right.
Last bit of summer.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
John, did we miss an agenda item? Like having you thing? That was last. No, it's.
It's not on my agenda if I missed it.
Oh, I'm looking at last month. Okay, sorry.
Is that? Okay. I mean, it's highly possible I missed something, maybe even probably.
No, I opened the wrong thing.
Okay. All right, action items here. It is a recommendation by Superintendent Shauna Spicker that the Board of Education approve the 2021 Building and Site Capital Project, the guaranteed maximum price award recommendation of $205,962.98 for the Stadium Audiovisual and Music Tower construction as presented. Flint Moran Cressa and Clark Construction have provided recommendation letters for board review. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support?
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Anybody in the audience? No? Good.
I'm here from Flint Moran Cressa. If you have questions, I'll be glad to answer. So I don't know if you want me to get up and present anything or.
Any questions from anybody? I think we're good. You're spared. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's
Please.
okay. It'll be pretty straightforward. When do we think we'll have this?
So I think the actual purchasing procurement of that will come down to scheduling about when they can manufacture. I think the AV portion will go relatively quickly. We'd have to work with our construction contractors to figure out when they would purchase that and get that installed. My guess is it may not make this season just because of how close we are to the start of school year, but we'll definitely get it in probably the next 12 months for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I do have one question. Is this within the budget that was originally allotted? Will we within that?
It's slightly over the budget, but over the budget, I think our total budget was around $170,000 total ballpark. I apologize for not having a precise number in front of me. But so it's slightly over by the tune of $25,000. But that's all inclusive of the actual slab and all the other stuff that has to go into it. There's other pieces that go into it, so that's probably why the cost come up what our target budget was. But overall, considering what we've seen since we did the budget, it's actually pretty good. So we feel this is relatively close.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Thanks. No? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Next is a recommendation by Superintendent Shauna Spicker that the Board of Education approve the generous donation of $600 from Kingsley Insurance Group for the Welcome Back staff meals. A thank you letter has been sent to the board for your review as well. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support. Okay, moved and supported. Any discussion? I just want to miss the curriculum
Do
guide.
we do any business with Kingsley? Or are they just being very generous?
Well, it's Mimic Insurance, and a
Okay,
lot of
gotcha.
educators use Mimic Insurance.
Yeah.
So they do come out at breakfast and have a table and do a raffle. And then they've also very generously have supported the back to school, or the new teacher orientation lunch. And they talk to the teachers about the service they
That's
provide.
great. Well, thank you to them for that.
Did we vote on that? Or no, we haven't voted yet. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Sorry, we're jumping around. My paperwork is
Paperwork.
numbered and out of order a little bit. So next we are going to the curriculum guide, just so everyone is aware.
First, you have the right agenda.
Yeah. All right. Background information, language proposed to be inserted in the 2023-24 DeWitt High School Curriculum Guide. Location of this language, as you've seen within the guide, should be on page 11 immediately preceding the section titled College Athletics. There's a recommendation by Superintendent Shauna Spicker that the Board of Education approve the revised 2023-24 DeWitt High School Curriculum Guide to include innovative programming as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion?
Just that we've talked about this, you had a presentation, and the curriculum guide was done in February, so we're just bringing you the updated language to include the program that we presented to you.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Motion carries. Finally, action item, we have moving the potential commencement date in for the class of 2024. It is the recommendation by Superintendent Shauna Spicker that the Board of Education consider revising the 2024 DeWitt High School commencement ceremony for Sunday, June 2nd, 2024 at 2 p.m. in the DeWitt High School Gymnasium. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay. Support. Moved and supported. Any discussion? I know Matt is here too. Matt?
I would like additional information about specifically, previously, it shows that, you know, we've got this date of May 19th, 2023, and it talks about how they would miss 4 weeks of instruction. How have we been doing it in the past, I guess? And like, how did we end up having this date in May and then realizing that we were gonna miss 4 weeks of instruction kind of after the fact?
Good questions. First, the 4 weeks have always been there. This would just make it an additional week on top of. So there were about 5 weeks that seniors historically have been in class before they're dismissed. This would put it at 4, dismissing them on May 10th of 2024. In the memo I sent, the items that I focused on, the second part of your question, how did we get here? Essentially the new way in which commencement ceremony dates are determined. I had some discussions. We looked at the calendar, which would be the equivalent to the one we just had, and it ended up being May 19th in the following calendar year.
I think also historically, COVID played a role in the date getting changed to
Right.
being earlier, so.
So pre-COVID, the date
It
was
was always
later.
the first Sunday in June,
Yes.
or in pre-COVID.
And so COVID, I think, you know, by releasing seniors early, got the potential of spread out. And so, you know, I think that was done back in 2019, and then it was kept in 20.
So we've only had 1 or 2 years where seniors got out early?
No,
No.
they've always gotten out
They've always
early.
gotten on early, and let me just say for the record, I'm not against seniors getting out early. I just don't want them out, you know, any earlier than appropriate. So the date went through because honestly, I did not understand that in selecting a preliminary date in my mind, that started the wheels of board approval for the 19th. I was still having conversations with my assistant principals, the athletic director, large event, people that have large events, there's, you know, track regionals, there's all sorts of things that we want to kind of work around. So that was kind of set in motion. The way that I heard about it was that the community Facebook page had kind of had a discussion. Is the 19th, is it June 2nd? Because in that meantime, I had some parents who had inquired, and I had told them the 19th, and then I said, actually, you know, as a preliminary date, but June 2nd looks like what is going to be the final date. Some parents who are trying to make plans, you know, early, understandably so. So
Then I informed Mr. Dodson that the board had already acted on this, so if we're
Yeah.
changing the date, it has to come to the board again.
So immediately, kind of some damage control in letting the folks who I know might have been misinformed, and we immediately took it down off of our website. And I actually want to make a note, because I think the website says like the 23rd right now or something.
I guess I'm still confused as to how it worked last year and it was okay for them, but now, what are we changing and why? Like,
So,
it worked last year, why did it work this year?
It's kind of like when your winter breaks come at different times. So sometimes it's like you're coming back on January 3rd, then this past year we came back, I think, on the 9th. So it's the way in which the calendar falls is part of it. So if we did it the 19th, which would line up with what we did, this past year, that would put the seniors out on the 10th, which is a week earlier than advanced placement tests are complete. Those complete the following week. Our RESA, our CTE courses, they don't complete until after that date. We have, it also puts our seniors out with 4 weeks remaining. It gives us 1 less instructional week.
But that
for
didn't
the
happen
calendar.
last year.
Well, actually, I think that part did, and that's me trying to get it back to a reasonable date that the seniors would leave.
So
So if
the
we kept.
position, if I'm restating it, is they were out too early last year,
Correct.
and you want them here longer.
It would be 1 additional week if we stayed the calendar, yes.
Through at least the AP testing.
Yes.
And the CTE program.
How did they deal with those issues last year? The AP testing?
The AP test happened to go through that week.
It fell.
This
while
calendar
we were
year
still
is an
here.
anomaly, or I mean, it could happen again, but the AP test went through that, so it didn't.
They were able to take their AP
They
test.
did
Yeah.
have these issues
Correct.
last year that you're pointing out,
Right.
like the AP test and CCA.
Yes.
so.
And my
this-
fear
This
is.
eliminates that in the future.
Yes, yeah.
Are you prepared for potential backlash from?
Yeah, and I really, what I do is kind of look at, first of all, I'm sorry that you're even in this position to make this decision. It was not my intention. My intention was to get the accurate date, and there's nobody that this should be on besides me, as far as why we ended with the 19th, and I'm asking for a change. But the reason why I'm willing to ask for a change is because I think overall for students being in those classes for their AP, staying in their courses for 1 additional week of instruction, so that they're still out, I believe, the week before Memorial Weekend, and it gets our graduation back to, I'd say, the historically appropriate time of year. The backlash would be for the, I believe, to be smaller number of people who are under the impression it's the 19th. If we were to keep the 19th, I think there'd be much more backlash from a larger group who I think are planning on June 2nd. I think there'd be,
June 2nd.
and I don't know if Mr. Byers wants to give his opinion as an AP teacher, but to me, it felt like it would be very important for those students to have the 83-minute blocks of class leading up to some of their AP exams. Now, not every AP exam is that week, but there are AP exams in which our kids are going to be engaged.
How many students do we have taking AP exams?
I
What
don't-
percentage of the kids are we talking about?
Oh, we have.
And it's just in the senior
20.
class then, right?
I would say it is, of the eligible population to take those classes, I'd say it's 1/5. Is that
Easily, yes.
easily, it might be more. It also would give that additional week, we have a population of students who need specific credits to ensure their graduation. That helps them as well.
And there are other things that take place that weekend too, Matt. Like, aren't there, music concerts or other things that happen that weekend that potentially conflict with some of these things if graduation were to stay?
I would be guessing, I can't remember the exact events. They were events in which we could work around, so I don't have them on hand, but it just makes the logistics a little bit more difficult. And honestly, and I don't like to make excuses or make it like it's more work on my office, but having that quick of a graduation date makes it challenging, making sure that our caps and gowns and things are all set and ready for the kids. So,
Can we talk about the CTE program a little bit too, and how this impacts the students that are attending
Yes.
CC Risa if they're not there?
Yeah, so, like at the beginning of the year, those students' classes actually start a week before we do. Typically, it's the same week, but I wouldn't say it's as big of an anomaly for those kids. But Eaton Risa typically has their classes go through the first week of June, so an additional week out. It's concerning enough already when kids aren't in that regular routine, that they could, especially kids who are using those CTE classes for their Algebra 2 credit, for credits, foreign language, world language credits, that they would potentially not receive the credit and thus not get their diploma. So it really puts us in a better position to make sure that those students are all set. In my humble opinion, it is the right timeline to switch to the second. However, the biggest thing is the best for the collective of the kids is to be in those AP classes and have one more week of instruction while still getting out 3 weeks prior to the end of school.
So when would they get out?
So I believe it would be May 17th. Is that Friday?
Friday.
And then they come back to graduate on June 2nd?
Yes.
And if the board were to approve, we would get the new date out soon
Yeah,
and post it, and, yeah.
But did I hear you say you've already told parents that it's June 2nd now?
Before I knew we were in this situation, the ones who had asked, yes, I made sure they knew that it was the 2nd and not the 19th. And on the community page, I believe it was, yeah, commencement is the 19th going off the website. And then there were some parents who said, wait, no, Mr. Dodson himself told me it was June 2nd. So,
And
That
that's
was
when I
before you
said,
knew it
and that's
and
when I
that's
said,
when we said,
whoa, wait a
well, pull
minute.
plug and figure this out. And I wrote the memo, I think that day.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
John, I think maybe the musical event you're thinking about, Pop's concert, is the 17th and the 18th, so they're doing 2 instead of what would normally be 3, because they would normally go Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Which could potentially conflict with open houses and other things. that
Correct.
happen in that weekend. And there are no other prior events that would be that June 2nd weekend, right?
I believe, if memory serves, that is, I think, track state finals, but that's on Saturday, and that is a pretty select group of kids if some of our kids qualify. So it'd be very.
So we could have seniors who qualify for track state finals, go to track state finals, but have to be at their graduation too?
The next day.
The next
Oh,
day.
the next day.
The next
Okay, well,
day.
Saturday.
Okay. I thought
Yeah,
it was
that- I
the
think
same day. I was
that-
like, that's gonna be.
I think that was the
Okay.
biggest.
Okay.
Depends how fast they are.
Next
you
day,
know?
sorry.
We do have kids that are able to do a lot. but-
Yeah.
Mr. Johnson, there's 350 seats in AP. There's tallied them, so.
What, clarify
So
that?
potentially 350 seats would be just
Could be multiple
over
students or
20,
something.
between 25 and 30%, I think, of our population.
But if they're
Right.
freshmen, sophomores, and juniors,
Yeah,
it doesn't
you can't
affect them.
count those.
So we're only talking about our seniors in AP.
Yeah, so actually, wow, that number is high then.
Well, it could be.
Kids in multiple.
Those
yeah,
are seats, could be one student taking
right?
3.
Yeah.
Someone could be taking 4 AP credits.
Yeah.
Right, and so they're impacted on it.
It's still a pretty.
But at the end of the
still
year,
a
they
pretty high
may,
number,
that's
though.
one student, they have to take 3
Yeah.
AP tests.
Yeah, well,
And it'd be predominantly juniors and seniors.
Or 6
taking 6.
AP classes.
And that,
Go
track finals.
Panthers.
Track finals is
That's
the first.
impressive.
Yeah, that's Saturday.
So that would give us 2 days. Actually.
Any other questions for Matt or further discussion?
No, but I appreciate bringing the star attention
Yeah,
as quickly as you did.
Something, learning curve for me, and next year you will not be dealing with this. The date will be set and wonderful. It still will be, but thank you so much for
Thanks, Matt.
considering.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right, no further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, public communications for items found not on the agenda. Anybody? Okay, we will close public communications and move on to the superintendent's report.
So Brian, the curriculum team led new teacher orientation last Tuesday, was well attended and well planned, so we were able to invite them into our district and give them information. The theme for the year is You Matter. Hopefully you've seen the updates that have gone out to staff and to families. So we want to make sure that staff know that they matter to us, the board and the district, but most importantly, our students. And so one of the things that we are doing to show that is to introduce educator wellness coaching this year for not only our teachers, but our support staff and admin as well. In addition, we have the youth mental health first aid training that's going to be going on for all teachers. So that's kind of showing that our students matter this year and wanting to make sure we're taking care of their mental health. And then we also have parent coaching that we're providing. So we're able to use the 31AA funds that are for mental health reasons to back these programs and have these partnerships. So we're using grant funds to be able to do that. Our cabinet met last week to talk about kind of the business of getting back to school, but we have our retreat tomorrow, and the morning of our retreat is going to be about belonging and how we can make sure all of our stakeholders feel that they matter. And then the second part of the day, we're going to be working on strategic plan and coming up with those specific objectives to work. I'd like to thank DeWitt because we're going to have our retreat out at Michigan State, and so he helped me secure free space to be able to meet out there. We like to do it off site. It just helps to kind of put our mind into the work that needs to get done. And so we appreciate being able to do that out on campus. As far as strategic plan goes, I've worked with Bill Steffen, the owner of DeWitt Magazine and More to Your Door, and I'm going to be submitting monthly the scoop from the soup. And we will not be charged for that because it'll be more content-based, less ad-based this year. So we'll be able to have our greater community understanding kind of what's going on in the school district. And as I said, we've sent the newsletters both to staff and to our parents. Now we have the 8 for academic programs, which is also part of our strategic plan. We have the innovative programming in our curriculum guide, and we'll be able to have that option for our students. As far as safety goes, we have a memo that's scheduled to go out this week to staff that will talk about additional safety precautions that we need to make sure that we're thinking about this year. We've established our task force. Those people will continue in those roles, and we've set up dates that we will be meeting throughout the year, our safety task force. And then we're also working with communication by design on visitor management system, cameras, and fob entry access to make sure that our security is up to date. As far as the learning environment and culture, the theme for the year, but we are also working with, Brian has been working with Justice Leaders Collaborative to help with our diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives. So we'll be meeting as a kind of a steering committee team, and then we'll be able to take back information from our learning and doing activities at our CLT time. And last but not least, personnel. We still do have a few positions that are open, so please share. I know that Mr. Dotson has been working on getting a counselor for the high school still. We do have the dean position that's posted and we'll be interviewing for shortly. We do have para positions that are available. And then anytime you see anything in your work about hiring diverse candidates and different ways we can advertise, post, or think about methods to be able to do that, please share that because that is a goal of ours and we'll continue to work on that. That's all I have for my update.
Any questions or comments for Shauna? Anything from anybody else? Motion to adjourn? Moved and supported. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.